Su Qing's novella The Beauty and the Crossroad. Original text 6. Little hero. One day, I was standing alone by the lake again, and several wild children gathered around me. "Hey, guess what this girl is thinking about?" S said. "Miss her." He snorted heavily. B is a sickly man with a sallow face and a pointed chin, but he also knows how to sarcastically say, "Maybe she also knows that she wants a wild husband, right?" Everyone laughed and casually pushed the youngest one among them, the little one with epilepsy, and said, "How about letting the little epilepsy be your wild husband? Pair a silly girl like you with a clown like him, and they will be a perfect match." Ding struggled to run away, but everyone tried to push him over. I was so anxious that I almost cried. I said, "Don't be ridiculous. Let me go home." So I wanted to run home, but they came up and held me back, saying they wanted to get married soon. I cried and said, "I want to tell my mother." They were even more proud. And Tang Chi talked nonsense for a while and said, "Your mother is also looking for a wild husband. So will she have time to take care of you? How dare the old widow do anything to us? We are all the kings on Peach Blossom Mountain." He added, "It's a pity that I don't want her after all. She just wants to marry us. We don't want her either." I was so filled with hatred that I wiped away my tears and yelled at the person who said this, "If you say one more stupid thing like that, I will fight you to the death." They laughed and said, Come on. It seems that you are a very cruel girl." It was too late to say that, but soon, I rushed forward towards them with all my strength. They dodged to both sides, and I fell to the ground suddenly, feeling a combination of pain and shame. It made me almost crazy. I stood up and wanted to fight them desperately. At this time, a boy wearing a very beautiful little suit came over and said, "What's wrong? You are bullying her, a girl." Then he turned back to see, who looked like a ghost, and said, "A bang. You are here too. Here, I'll tell Uncle Wen King." Xiaobi was frightened and said, "Brother Chang, don't be angry. We are joking with her." Before he could finish his words, he could only hear the beautiful boy. He yelled angrily, "You still dared to call me a little girl, but you yourself are a little brat. Dad told me that your whole family depends on my dad to give you a bite to eat." The little naughty boy didn't dare to reply and walked away dejectedly. The other naughty boys also dispersed in a hurry. When I gratefully raised my head to look at the little hero, I saw that he was about the same age as my sister, and he was very handsome. Her hair was neatly cut, and her floral silk tie was of an attractive color. Thinking of the injustice I had just suffered, I couldn't help but sob at him. Don't cry," he said softly. "Aren't you Zhang Ming's sister? I am Ming's classmate. I have seen you before." As he said that, he took out a handkerchief from his trouser pocket, handed to me to wipe my tears. That day, he escorted me home. Along the way, I met two urchins, who seemed to be talking secretly with evil looks. I felt embarrassed, but I was very proud, because he was a beautiful little hero. From then on, Huang Cheng often came to my house to play. When he came, he always brought some food, toys, and the like for us. My mother seemed to like him very much. After he went out, she said that my family was too poor. Otherwise, we know that he is the only son of Mr. Huang Mingjai, the owner of Yuantai Bank. Mr. Mingjai was almost 50 years old before Chang was born. He had 4 sons who unfortunately died one after another. Of course, he and his wife were devastated. The following year, his wife became pregnant again, and they were both happy and worried. When they finally raised a daughter, she was later named a duo. Yu refused to pay attention to his wife. His wife was in tears. She knew she was wrong, but she didn't dare to do anything to him. She just hated her stomach for not living up to expectations. Therefore, a duo waited until the full moon and took her to the countryside to be fostered. Mr. Mingjai was afraid that her wife's own breastfeeding would affect her fertility. A boy, Mr. Mingjai was originally a manager at Hengyang Bank. He knew how to flatter shareholders, how to speculate in business, how to keep the money he made as his own, and how to charge losses to the store's public accounts. Later, he gradually became a shareholder in Hengyang Bank, and the store paid for the favors he gave away for food and supplies, but the favors returned were in his name. As a result, their family gradually became rich. When Cheng was born, his father left Hengyang Bank and invested his own money to establish another one, called Yuantai. It was naturally a happy event for Mr. Mingjai to become his own boss instead of a manager, so he attributed it to Cheng, saying that the child had a good life and was worth pampering. At the same time, mothers also think the same way. If they still raise a girl this time and their husband's career becomes prosperous, wouldn't it be natural for him to ask for a child? Old-style women are always like this. Although they don't really want to be with their husbands, they can't rest even if their husbands are snatched away by another woman. She was happy and grateful that the birth of her son had saved the crisis. Cheng was a handsome boy, and she went to tell his fortune, saying that he would definitely be an official in the future, which made Mr. Mingjai so happy that he didn't know what to do. Cheng had been pampered since he was a child, and he had whatever he wanted except for the moon in the sky, which Mr. Mingjai and his wife did not pick for him. Later, when he was 1 year old, there was an old accountant in the store, Song Wensheng, who could write. Mr. Mingjai bought a piece of gold talking paper and polished the ink with wine. The old man wrote a piece of block letters and asked him to take it. After describing it, the old gentleman said that he had a genius for writing and that he was making rapid progress, making even Mr. Mingjai laugh so hard that he would not stop smiling. So he was introduced by this old gentleman and hired a scholar to teach him to read at Yuantai Bank. He slept with his father at night, because Mr. Mingjai thought that he already had a son and there was no need to go home. He had already stayed in the shop. It's a pity that now is the era of the Republic of China. The opportunity to pass the examination for talents and to be a jinshi has disappeared. Although Cheng has the destiny to be an official, he must prepare an official qualification for him. So Mr. Mingjai had to send him to take the examination. Middle school. Preparing to take the college entrance examination to the Department of Political Science. There is only one county middle school in Sidia, and the students are quite good. It is not easy to pass the exam in Chengde. It happened that the general affairs director of that school met Mr. Mingjai through someone. Mr. Mingjai had an idea and promised him a huge profit. He was asked to deposit the school's public funds into Yuantai Bank, and the interest rate was set at a very high rate. Naturally, the benefit accrued to the Director of General Affairs personally, and as long as the school did not suffer any losses, it would be fine. In order to take the middle school entrance examination in Chengde this year, Mr. Mingjai specially prepared a table of wine and asked the Director of General Affairs to come and pay his respects and send some food. The Director of General Affairs made arrangements for him, and he finally managed to get in. There were people on the waiting list who took the exam, but my sister mine got into the exam head-on and got the first place. Oh, I think how glorious she must be. He loved my sister very much, really, because she was admired by so many people. He often invited her to his home to play, and she went there once or twice. Mr. Mingjai flattered her very much, saying that it was rare for a girl to know how to read after giving birth to a son and becoming an official. Isn't she a madam? He was in favor of women studying, because reading could teach their sons a lesson. He sighed and said that Cheng's mother didn't even know a word. No wonder the Cheng kid couldn't do arithmetic well in school and didn't have the literacy skills to help him. Ask him to do exercises. How can a child cope with it on his own? But he said that this time Cheng rescued me from being surrounded by naughty boys and sent me home. My mother also loved how smart and beautiful he was and asked him to come and play more. From then on, he became even more intimate with us. Money is a good thing after all. With it, people can express their emotions, even if they are as close as mother and son. A son can always show his filial piety by buying things for his mother. A mother can also show her love by buying things for her children. Kindness. There is always nothing wrong with any friend or person you don't know very well, as long as you use money, or use money to buy things and give them to others. Cheng's father knew this, so he spent money to buy friendship and various conveniences for his son. Even if he was as noble as my mother, he had to be happy for his generous gifts. Of course, I can't be an exception. A girl from a poor background is easily tempted by material things because she has always lacked them, so she feels more mysterious and attractive when she sees them. If you like what he gave you, you will naturally like him as well. Chengde and I gradually became familiar. I call him brother, and he calls me Xiaomei. He said, "You are much more stubborn than your sister. Don't beat your husband when you get married in the future." I said shyly to him, Look, you are talking nonsense again, brother. You always have nothing good to say. My sister was sitting aside doing plain geometry. At this time, she turned back to take a peek at us and smiled secretly. Mother said, Xiaomei is a yin and yang girl. I don't know what she will become in the future. Only Ermine is a gentle and good girl, but I am afraid that she will be too responsible and suffer in this society. Cheng had nothing to say. He just glanced at my sister and immediately turned back to look at me with scorching eyes.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.